He looked me straight in the eye and said, "If you're not happy here, the door's right there." What he didn't know was that I already had the matchbook and the plan to bring the whole house down. 8 years. That's how long I gave to Dalton Burne Media in Atlanta. 8 years of 12-hour days, missed birthdays, and weekends that disappeared into campaign metrics and branding decks. I wasn't just an employee, I was the engine behind our most successful digital strategy campaigns. But none of that mattered the moment Vincent Cross arrived. Vincent, the new chief operating officer, was the type who wore confidence like cologne, overbearing and manufactured. Tailored suits, expensive watches, and a smirk that said he already had a plan for you, even if you didn't know it yet. They called him a turnaround expert. But what they didn't tell us was that he was ruthless, manipulative, and utterly devoid of empathy. The first time we met, he didn't shake my hand. He just looked me up and down and said, "You're Dana, right, huh? Thought you'd be older." I laughed, trying to keep it light. Huge mistake. Within 10 days, 2 senior designers and a project manager were out. Budget streamlining, policy realignment, endless talks about productivity per hour. But what he really wanted was dominance. And I was the one person he couldn't steamroll. I wasn't a yes woman. I questioned decisions that didn't serve the work. I stood by my team when he tried to rip apart what we'd built. Worse for him, I had connections, deep ones. Longtime clients who trusted me, executives who respected my voice, and colleagues who came to me for real leadership. That made me dangerous. He started slow, skipping me in meetings, rewriting my reports, correcting me in front of interns. He thought he could wear me down. But I didn't stay to survive. I stayed to observe, to prepare. So when he delivered that final line, "The door's right there," I smiled. And I walked. I didn't slam anything. I didn't break stride. I left like I just finished a successful pitch. But the silence I left behind, it roared through that building louder than anything I could have said. That weekend, my phone blew up. "Are you okay? What happened in that meeting? You're not really leaving, are you?" And then came the message that confirmed it all. "Vincent told the team you were taking personal time. He reassigned your clients to that new hire. Brittany just thought you should know." Brittany, the junior associate with no real experience, but an endless supply of flattery. The one who called Vincent Vince by day 2. I didn't reply. Not yet, because I wasn't done. Vincent thought he'd won. What he didn't know was that I hadn't just walked out, I'd stepped back far enough to aim. And then came the message that told me everything I needed to know. "Just so you're aware, Vincent told the team you were taking personal time to cool off. He's assigning your accounts to Brittany for now." Brittany, the fresh-faced junior associate Vincent promoted barely 2 weeks after meeting her. The same one who couldn't tell the difference between bounce rate and billing cycle, but still managed to laugh at every one of his smug jokes. She called him Vince by day 3. I didn't respond. Not yet. Monday morning, I walked into the office like nothing had happened. Not to stir up drama, just to watch, to calculate. Vincent didn't make eye contact. Brittany had already taken my desk. My access to the campaign dashboard was revoked. My meeting invites all gone. My calendar was blank. No assignments, no updates, no explanation, no word from HR, no message from Vincent, just silence. That hollow, strategic kind of silence meant to make someone disappear without making a scene. But I don't disappear. I claimed an empty conference room in the back and turned it into my temporary base. I brought my personal laptop, a notebook, and a thermos of coffee. If they were trying to erase me, I was going to stay visible and still. Every day, Vincent strutted past the glass walls like a man who thought he'd outsmarted everyone. Brittany gave me awkward smiles, half pity, half pride, but not enough to stop copying my slide decks and trying to sound like she understood them. I stayed there all week, quiet, focused, and every day someone came to check on me. A colleague, a client, even a member of the board. "Are you okay? Are you leaving?" What really happened, I told them the truth, calmly, clearly. No gossip, no spin. Just facts. And that right there was something Vincent never could replicate. I built trust. He just built fear. By Friday, he finally asked me to come to his office. He tried to act relaxed, leaning back like he had the upper hand. "Dana," he said, "you've had a good run here, but things are moving in a new direction. Maybe it's time you did too." I smiled, not bitterly, just enough to let him know I saw right through him. "You're right," I said. "I've had a great run, but I don't move on. I move forward." Then I handed him my resignation. No tears, no tantrum, just a clean break. But this time, I didn't walk out empty-handed. This time, I walked with leverage, with a plan, with everything I needed to turn this quiet erasure into a public reckoning. Vincent thought he'd silenced me, but all he really did was give me the space to get ready. While Vincent played power games, slashing budgets and flexing authority, I was busy building something real, something he couldn't touch. Years ago, I had led the development of a proprietary content optimization platform called SignalCore. It analyzed cross-platform engagement-adjusted tone based on audience behavior and refined distribution timing for maximum impact. It was a game changer. Within a year of launch, our campaign performance was up 42%. We beat out agencies with 10 times the resources. But here's the twist. The company's legal team never filed the intellectual property under Dalton Burne. It was registered under my name. Why? Because I had built it on my own time. At night, on weekends, I maintained the system. I coded every line, and I never signed a single ownership waiver. They used it. They relied on it. They bragged about it in every pitch meeting and investor deck. And now, they were still using it without me. That was their first mistake. The second, assuming I'd walk away quietly. They underestimated the relationships I had nurtured. Former teammates, longtime clients, industry leaders who remembered me as the steady hand behind million-dollar campaigns. By the following Monday, I was already on the phone with 3 brands that had personally requested me over the years. When they heard I'd left You're Available Now. "Wait, do you still have access to SignalCore? Would you be open to consulting with us directly?" Yes, and absolutely. Yes, I wasn't going to build a big agency to go head-to-head with Dalton Burne. That would have taken too long, too obvious. No, I had a smarter play in mind. I would take them apart quietly, one client at a time. By Friday, I had filed a clean LLC. I bought a domain, branded my new consultancy, and launched a sleek landing page tailored directly to the type of companies Dalton Burne once served. Every detail of my strategy was sharpened by the data from SignalCore. My SignalCore, the same one they were still illegally running in the background. I gave them 1 week. 1 week of silence. 1 week to realize they couldn't run their system without the person who built it. 1 week to reach out, apologize, and negotiate. They didn't. Instead, Vincent doubled down. A contact inside the company messaged me. "Vincent told the board you had no legal claim to anything. He said you walked out in a tantrum and your exit was the best thing that's happened to the team." It was like watching someone burn their own house down, then blame the weather. So I made my first move. I sent a cease and desist letter to Dalton Burne's legal department. Formal, calm, precise. It detailed my legal ownership of SignalCore, the patent registration, and the licensing terms they had repeatedly ignored. I gave them 72 hours, and when the clock ran out, I was already 3 steps ahead. I gave them 72 hours to shut down all use of SignalCore or face a formal lawsuit. No response. Instead, they wiped my name from every project I'd touched. Years of strategy decks, campaign credits, and internal memos scrubbed. Even the archived versions of our award-winning campaigns had been revised to erase my name entirely. One gutsy intern told me off the record that Vincent had someone swap my headshot on the team presentation slides with a stock photo of a blonde woman in a navy pantsuit, someone completely unconnected to anything we'd ever done. So that's how they wanted to play it. Fine. That weekend, I sat in my apartment and recorded a private walkthrough of SignalCore, how I had designed it, how it worked, and most importantly, how the company had continued to use it without legal rights. I included everything: early interface sketches, code-based structure, analytics, performance comparisons. Every slide was watermarked with timestamps and authorship. I uploaded the video to a secure link and shared it with 2 people. The first was a journalist I trusted at TechScope Weekly, someone who had once interviewed me about digital ethics in AI marketing. The second was a former investor in Dalton Burne who had quietly pulled out after Vincent took over. The journalist messaged me within hours. "Holy hell. This is huge. I want to run it. Can you go on record?" "Not yet," I told her. "But soon. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, and if you're ready for what comes next, hit that subscribe button. There's more to uncover, more truth to tell, and trust me, the next chapter changes everything." The investor never replied. But the next morning, I got a message from a contact still inside emergency board meeting scheduled for Monday. "Vincent's not saying much, but he doesn't look so calm anymore." That Monday, at exactly 9:02 a.m., I sent the formal cease and desist letter, clean, professional, and impossible to ignore. It spelled out how Signal Core was developed under my name, how the patents were filed independently, and how the company had continued using my proprietary system after my departure without any legal agreement. I gave them 72 hours to respond before I filed the lawsuit. Then I waited. I expected something. A frantic email from their legal team, a damage control call from the board, maybe even a defensive rant from Vincent himself. But I got none of that. Just silence. Until day 3. A cold, dismissive email. "After internal review, we find no evidence of intellectual property infringement. This matter is considered resolved. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." No apology, no discussion, just arrogance dressed in legal language. I sat in my apartment rereading that message. My jaw clenched, but I didn't type a word in response. That's what they wanted, an emotional outburst they could use to discredit me. Men like Vincent always expect women to snap. That way, they can ignore everything else we said. But I didn't snap. Instead, I stood up, poured a glass of water, opened my laptop, and escalated. I sent the video, the code, the patents, and Jenna's supporting documents straight to the journalist. It was no longer just a claim. Now, it was evidence. The email thread was crystal clear. Vincent had directly instructed his team to reverse engineer my work. There was even a Zoom call recording where he laughed and said, "She walked away. No one's going to dig into it." But someone did. The journalist didn't wait 24 hours. By the next morning, her article dropped on TechScope Weekly with the headline, "Ex-Director Accuses Atlanta Agency of IP Theft, and She's Got the Receipts." And receipts I had. Screenshots, code, fragments, email, chains, project documentation. Every piece of proof that Signal Core had been built by me, owned by me, and used by them without my consent. The story exploded. My name trended across LinkedIn, Reddit, and even Twitter. Messages poured in from former coworkers and industry peers. "Dana, I had no idea. This explains so much. I always wondered how Vincent's vision came together so fast." Some even reshared the article with their own commentary. She built the whole system and got erased. Unreal. But not everyone was supportive. The trolls came in quickly. "She's just bitter. If she really owned it, why wait this long?" Another emotional meltdown. Yawn. And then Vincent responded. He posted a polished statement on LinkedIn full of faux humility and spin. "In times of growth, there will always be those who seek to distract from progress. We stand by our work and the incredible team who helped build our future. Integrity always wins." The post racked up likes within hours. His followers hailed him as composed, inspiring, even graceful. And just like that, the truth began to slip from center stage. The press cycle slowed. The comments grew louder than the facts. I sat alone in my apartment one night, staring at the whiteboard, filled with diagrams, quotes, legal plans. I had the patents, the evidence, the strategy, everything. And yet, it felt like nothing had changed. Had I miscalculated? Had I already lost? Then I got a message. No name, just a number. "I used to work for them. I have something you need to see." Attached were screenshots of invoices, internal emails, and devlogs. The company had hired a third-party developer to clone Signal Core months before I resigned. Vincent hadn't just stolen my work. He'd premeditated it. He'd tried to erase me from the system entirely before I even knew what he was up to. And Jenna. She wasn't the only one who knew. They'd built a secret project under a fake name, hoping to quietly phase out my version and claim it as their own from the start. My hands trembled slightly as I opened each file. But I wasn't panicking. I was getting ready. They wanted to play dirty. They were about to find out what it looked like when someone played smarter. I wasn't unraveling. I was getting into position. Then came Friday, a mandatory all-hands meeting. Vincent stood center stage, delivering another hollow monologue about company transformation. I raised my hand. Can you explain how cutting our most effective platform will help client retention? His jaw tightened. He didn't answer. He didn't even look at the slides. He didn't flinch. He just stared right at me and said, "If you're not happy here, the door's right there." The entire room froze. Every head turned, all eyes on me. They were waiting to see if I'd shrink or stand. I smiled, picked up my notebook, and walked out without a word. What Vincent didn't realize was I wasn't walking away. I was stepping back just far enough to aim. A week later, I was scheduled to speak at the National Innovation and Integrity Summit in Chicago, the most influential annual gathering in the digital strategy space. It was where careers were launched, reputations were tested, and sometimes veils were lifted. I had been invited months earlier to give a keynote on ethical design and innovation. The irony was almost poetic. The night before, I barely slept. I ran through the slides over and over. I fine-tuned every sentence, every pause, every inflection. But I also prepared for something else, that this could fall flat, that I'd be dismissed again as dramatic, ungrateful, or worse, irrelevant. Still, when I arrived at the venue that morning, the energy felt charged. People whispered as I passed. Heads turned. Something was building. Word had gotten out. This was the moment I would finally address the Signal Core scandal. I was slotted as the final speaker before lunch. The room was packed, not just with tech professionals, but journalists, investors, and yes, even a few board members from Dalton Burne. And then I saw him, Vincent, sitting in the back row like a shadow in a tailored suit. He wasn't scheduled. He wasn't listed as an attendee, but he was there. He wanted to see if I'd actually do it. The host took the stage and read my bio as if it were just another keynote. Polite applause followed. I walked onto the stage spine, straight pulse, steady. My heart thundered in my chest, but my face was calm, composed, and still. I was done being underestimated. I took a breath. Then I began. Innovation is often described by speed, disruption, scale, but rarely do we talk about integrity or ownership, or what happens when ideas aren't stolen by accident but by design. The room hushed. I clicked to the first slide. Signal Core. Proprietary software. Patent 9A8247. Registered owner Dana Mercer. A few gasps rippled through the room. Vincent didn't move. The next slide was a side-by-side comparison. Signal Core's codebase and the suspiciously similar system Dalton and Burne had launched just weeks after I left. Line by line, it was identical. Same structure, same logic, same language. Then came the internal email screenshots Jenna had sent me. Conversations where senior staff acknowledged my system, debated renaming it, and discussed phasing Dana out of the brand. I could feel the shift in the room. Vincent was no longer watching me. He was staring at the floor. And I was just getting started. The next slide showed internal messages communications among Vincent's senior team discussing how to recreate Signal Core. Some of the text was casual, careless, but damning. "We know Dana's IP claim is technically valid, but she walked away? That's fair game, right?" They laughed, called it rebranding, called me overattached. I paused for a moment, let the silence grow heavy. Then I clicked play on the final slide. An audio clip. Vincent's voice clear and unmistakable, arrogant. "We just need something close enough to what she had. No one's going to dig into it." She walked away. The audience froze. A gasp came from the middle row. Someone in the second row covered her mouth. People were already pulling out their phones, no doubt posting the clip, forwarding it, recording reactions. I scanned the crowd. Vincent's seat in the back was now empty. I kept going. My voice stayed level, steady. I left that company with nothing but my dignity and a platform I built from the ground up. I gave them a chance to do the right thing. They chose to erase me instead. But here's what they forgot. I stepped forward. You can erase a name from a slide deck, but you can't erase patents. You can't erase code, and you damn sure can't erase the truth. Thunderous applause erupted. This wasn't polite clapping anymore. It was a release. Raw. Emotional. Loud. By the time I stepped off stage and reached the green room, the clip was already live across social media. Within an hour, it was trending on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Reddit. Industry insiders shared it with captions like, "This is what corporate accountability looks like." She didn't just burn the bridge. She built a better one. By the afternoon, Forbes Tech released a feature, Whistleblower Exposes IP Theft VP at Atlanta Agency Implicated. Other outlets followed. Fast Company, Wired, TechCrunch. They posted the side-by-side code comparisons, the emails, the voice recording. All of it. Vincent wasn't just unethical, he was reckless. But it didn't stop there. An anonymous employee from inside Dalton Burne leaked screenshots of internal Slack messages. Vincent had openly mocked staff who challenged him. He called one woman too emotional to lead, called another dead weight. That woman had been with the company for over 10 years. The board couldn't pretend anymore. 2 days later, a press release hit the wire. Vincent Lang has been terminated effective immediately. Dalton Burne is launching an internal review and has entered into a formal licensing agreement with Signal Corps' original developer, Dana Mercer. My name. Not buried, not as a footnote, but as a force. That same day, my inbox exploded. Clients, journalists, colleges, former coworkers, support, respect, invitations, opportunities. And through it all, one thing became clear. They tried to write me out, but I wrote the next chapter. Former clients reached out asking when I could start. Former colleagues messaged to say, "If you're building something, I want in." University programs emailed to invite me to speak on ethics, on innovation, on how to navigate power with principle. And then, in the middle of it all, I got a notification from LinkedIn. A connection request from Vincent. No message, just the request. I stared at it for a solid minute. Then I closed the app. He wasn't getting the satisfaction of a response. But here's the thing, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even proud. I was focused. Because this stopped being about revenge a long time ago. This was about reclaiming space. It was about reminding every underestimated woman, every overworked, overlooked professional, that silence is not the only option. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's a strategic retreat, a way to reload. And when you come back, you don't knock on the door. You level the whole damn building. Vincent's fall wasn't fast. It was public, methodical, and mercilessly earned. In the days following my speech, the headlines didn't let up. What started as a case of intellectual property theft spiraled into something far larger. A reckoning. Former employees began speaking up. On LinkedIn, on podcasts, in anonymous threads on X and Reddit. They talked about how Vincent took credit for other people's work, how he drove out team leads under the banner of efficiency, how he built a culture of fear masked as high performance. One former junior strategist posted, "He once told me, 'You're smart, but not leadership smart.' I believed him. Until now. Thank you, Dana." It hit 1 million views in 2 days. By the end of the week, 3 major clients had pulled their contracts citing ethical concerns and reputational risk. Dalton Burne's PR team scrambled, but every statement they issued was instantly dissected and mocked. And then came the final blow. Jenna, braver than anyone realized, filed a formal whistleblower complaint. With legal counsel, she had the receipts, emails, timestamps, even a voicemail, where Vincent said, "Just make it disappear." No one needs to know. Within 24 hours, the board had no choice. Vincent Lang was terminated effective immediately. The company released a sterile statement citing serious breaches of conduct. No apology, no mention of me by name. But I didn't need it. I had something better clarity. I had walked out of that company with nothing but the truth. And now that truth had burned through their lies one by one. While Vincent's career smoldered, mine quietly took root. I wasn't interested in interviews. I turned them down. I didn't even repost the Forbes article where they called me the woman who rewrote the rules. Instead, I built something. With Jenna by my side, we launched a consultancy. Small, sharp, values-driven. We called it Signal Ethics because everything we did came down to one thing: sending the right signal. In just 2 months, Signal Ethics had signed 6 former clients from my previous job. These weren't just business transactions, they were personal endorsements. They said they'd followed the fallout, watched how I handled everything with poise, said they trusted me now more than ever. My days were full, but light. No office politics, no posturing, just strategy, innovation, and purpose. Then one afternoon, after wrapping a virtual session, my phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Vincent Lang has sent you a connection request. No note, no apology, just silence pretending to be an olive branch. I didn't accept, but I didn't block him either. I let it sit, a digital relic, a quiet reminder of everything he thought he could get away with and didn't. Because here's the truth about power. It doesn't belong to the loudest voice in the boardroom. It belongs to the person who walks through the fire and comes back carrying the match. 6 months later, I received a surprising email. An invitation to the National Ethics and Innovation Gala, a black tie event hosted by a major tech leadership group. It celebrated integrity, transparency, and leadership in the digital space. At first, I almost deleted it out of habit. Then I read the subject line. You've been nominated for the Rising Integrity Award. I blinked. I didn't even know such an award existed. I certainly hadn't applied or lobbied for it. But somehow, someone had submitted my name. Somehow, the story had traveled farther than I ever expected. I accepted not out of pride, but quiet defiance. 6 months ago, they erased me. Now, I was being called to the stage. That night, I wore a simple black dress. No designer label, no PR handler. Just me, tall, grounded, ready. Jenna stood beside me in a white pantsuit and the calm poise of someone who had stepped into her own power. The ballroom was packed with industry leaders, journalists, founders, policymakers. And when they announced my name, the applause wasn't polite, it was personal. They stood not because I was famous, but because they remembered. I walked to the stage mic in hand steady. I never set out to be a symbol, I began. All I wanted was to do meaningful work and be respected for it. But when you bring that kind of intention into a system built on ego, sometimes it tries to break you. I paused. They told me the door was open if I didn't like it. So I walked out. What they didn't expect was that I wouldn't stay out. I came back, not to reclaim a seat, but to flip the table. The room erupted, but I wasn't done. This award isn't about me. It's about every underestimated soul who's been silenced, discredited, dismissed. You don't have to burn bridges. You build better ones, stronger ones they can't cross without your permission. Afterward, people lined up to shake my hand. One young woman said, "You made me realize I don't have to take it anymore. I'm quitting tomorrow and building my own thing." I smiled. Good. Don't just leave. Build something they can't ignore. Later, walking into the night air, Jenna nudged me. "You never asked who nominated you." I turned. "Was it you?" She shook her head and handed me her phone. It was an email. Short, anonymous. She didn't just fight for herself. She fought for all of us. Signed a former intern. I stood frozen. I didn't know who they were. Maybe someone I mentored. Maybe someone I barely remembered. But they remembered me. And that was the real twist. Not that I won, but that they lost. The moment I refused to disappear. If you felt something while hearing my story, if it reminded you of a time you were overlooked, underestimated, or erased, don't just scroll past. Leave a comment. Tell me what you would have done. Or better yet, tell me what you did. Because every time someone speaks up, it chips away at the silence people like Vincent count on. If you're out there standing at your own version of that door they told me to walk through, know this: you don't have to stay quiet. You don't have to play nice. You can walk out with your dignity and come back carrying the match.